Hey there, this is Gabe Belanger from Computer Geeks on Call, and I wanted to talk to you about security hardening your small business and specifically about online accounts. So, if we go to the name here, guard your online accounts and secure your business. So, I'm going to do three videos in this series. The first one is mapping your digital identity. So, this is actually a huge deal and that's why I'm doing it in three videos. So mapping your digital identity. So this whole idea of securing your business and online accounts, I don't think it's properly understood. So we hear a lot of words like zero trust and all kinds of different concepts and remote access and encryption and this and that. But there really is a crisis with identity, and there's a lack of understanding of how important it is to us. So in this first video, I'm going to cover mapping out your digital identity. And the way that we do that is very straightforward and simple. So first of all, let's go into like a story, like a real situation that happened. There was a disaster for this company after their user account was compromised. So we see way back in 2023, so recently, a small marketing firm with 50 employees suffered a severe phishing attack. So that's, they sent a fraudulent email posing as a major client, leading an employee to enter credentials onto a fake login page. So when that's done, most of the time, the whole point here is to get the username and password of that person. And that's what happened in this case. The attacker sent a fraudulent email, posing as the major client. The person put in the credentials, the employee with the stolen credentials. The attackers accessed the firm's internal systems, and they executed unauthorized wire transfers totaling over $200,000. So this is why identity is a big deal. When we say identity, we're talking about any kind of account with a username or a password to access anything in the business that's sensitive or important, or could be used in a way to cause problems. For example, you might not think Facebook is a big deal in your company, but if people were to get in and log in into your company's Facebook and then reset the password and lock you out, now you may have huge problems coming from that Facebook account for quite some time. So yes, they sent an email. The person put in the credentials into a website that was not a real website. It was just there to gather those credentials. And then they used this username and password to get into their internal systems and wire transfer $200,000. The firm faced significant operational disruptions, lost high-profile clients, and incurred heavy recovery costs. And the source for this story, this real story, is in Proofpoint. So if we look at the top 5 ways that small businesses get hacked in 2024, I kind of have made up a list there for us to look at. But most of the conversation and the talk I hear from small business is that, I'm too small. Nobody really is, going to go after me. They're going after the big guys. Well, it's not really true, because part of the reason it's not true is because hackers will go for whatever's easy. If they send out 100,000 phishing emails, they don't check to see who responded and whose credentials they got. And like, am I going to work with this or not? No, they just get the credentials and then they go to town. The other part of it that, we have to think about with small business is that, if you're not very secure in your setups and systems, then you are the first person that hackers are going to go after. And most of the time, because of limited budgets, small businesses tend to fall in that category. But I'm going to talk to you about a big move, big steps you can make to protect identity so that you're blocking out a lot of this risk for small business. And, this problem doesn't go away, but this problem is much less. Excuse me. So the top 5 ways that small business gets hacked in 2024, phishing attacks, that's where you send the email to get the credentials. That's an identity kind of attack. Ransomware attacks, that's where you click on the wrong link and your information is encrypted, and your hacker says, okay, well, give me $10,000 to decrypt. That happens a lot. It's a steady flow. The next one is weak passwords and poor authentication practices. So, if passwords are pulled from your computer somehow and then they get sold on the dark web to, 5 hackers, well, then they can just use those credentials to log into your account. So again, that's an identity attack vector. Then we have unpatched software and systems and third-party vendor breaches. So, companies that you work with that may get breached. So those are the top 5 ways. So you can see 2 out of the top 5 have to do with just identity. So let's cut to the chase. If we do a great job with identity, we're covering a lot of ground, and it's not really that difficult to do a great job with identity. The biggest thing to start with, as I'll cover here, is mapping out your digital identity. What is it? Once you have that mapped out, it makes a big difference in proceeding. So statistics show that identity is the first step in hacking. So here's a Verizon data breach investigation from 2023. They found 61% of breaches involved, hacking, getting through your identity, getting credentials. Proofpoint 2024 State of Phish report. Report shows 71% of surveyed organizations experienced at least one successful phishing attack in 2023. That means one of their employees' username and password, one of their online accounts, was hacked. That means they got the username, they got the password. So if the hacker has that, they can just go directly and log into that account. So for example, if it's your email address and a hacker gets the email address and password, what's to stop them from going to Gmail and logging into your email and just monitoring it? Or what's to stop them from logging into your Gmail and doing some kind of wire transfers or fraud if you have some kind of method in your email? And if they get access to your email, they can look at your old email, they can look at your sent items, they can look and find many, many ways, or they can just lock you out of your own email. That's a possibility as well. And then now they're controlling your email and doing all kinds of things. Many times we've encountered this in our business, and so that's why I want to bring up identity as a point here. So we can see here, Verizon investigation, Proofpoint, 61% for the first one, 71% talking about identity as being critical in hacking. So then we can also look here at, why are we talking about identity at all? Well, if you look at the good old days, 95 to 2000, what happened there was that you were in a physical network at your office, and you had a computer and you had a password, and that physical network, as long as it was protected, you were good. You didn't have to worry about it. When you went home, you didn't have devices, you didn't have remote access. None of that stuff mattered. So that was 95 to 2000. As we move down to the present day, you can see there was a network segmentation, endpoint security, advanced threat detection. But now, since 2015 to present, it's all about identity. So what we mean by identity, again, is the username and password. That is the thing we're trying to protect. So the user must verify their identity using multi-factor authentication. Access to resources is based on who they are rather than their location or their device, et cetera, et cetera. Users might experience frequent identity checks, but have more secure access to sensitive information. So if that seems a little strange to you, if that seems like, well, you don't really have to do that much or at all, well, then, you're easier to hack into because you don't have those serious, protections. One great thing I'll talk about in this video series is multi-factor authentication. It's just a great way to do it, but you have to do it a smart way. There's a good way and a really not too smart way to do it. So this is why we're talking about identity. In the old days, it didn't matter. In 95 to 2000, you went to your office, you got the login, and that was it. When you left the office, nobody could get in unless they went into the office, somehow got your password. Really much more secure. Now devices are everywhere, and it's all based on your login. So for small business, this is a big challenge. This is what you have in front of you for cybersecurity. You have a limited budget. You may not have, the dedicated staff you need. there's a lot of things you have to do. So that I'm just kind of listing out all the things a small business has to do. So wouldn't it be smarter to just zone in on the biggest thing, the thing that people are using a lot to hack, and that is protecting your online accounts, protecting your identity. That's what I'm trying to bring to the fore here. So let's talk about mapping out the digital identity as well, right? So the first thing you need to do as the owner of the business, or even as the manager, is to make a list. Each employee must make a list of all the online accounts that access sensitive information in the company. If you're going to try to have any kind of security, we know we need to do it with your identities, your logins. We need to list them out. We need to know what they are. This is probably the biggest reason people have issues. It's a lot to do. It's a lot to get everybody organized to have it all, but it's really not that difficult. If just throughout your workday as an employee, you say, well, okay, I'm going to these 18 places and I have all these logins, right? And so in doing that, you're able to make sure that you've tracked at least, the stuff you work with that day. So it's a good starting point. So if every employee just did that, gave you that list of accounts, online accounts, you're in a really good situation. So let's look at the top 10 online accounts to secure. They're not all created equal, right? So what is the most important thing, should be obvious, is our devices, like the login or the PIN to your cell phone or your computer, whatever it is. You have to know the username and password for that. And later on, we'll talk about how we secure it. If there is no username or password or PIN on your cell phone, well, obviously, it's just too easy. Okay. Next most important thing would be your email account. This can lead to data breaches, phishing attacks, and identity theft. You can do so much with the email account. It's hard to imagine what you can't do. I know in some cases, if you don't have multi-factor authentication or better security, people can be logging into your email. And I know this has happened in the past with my clients, where people were logging into their email for some time and they weren't aware of it. So you can imagine what can be done with email. So maybe someone, is going to be sending in money to you somehow, and you click the link to get the payment. Well, maybe someone sees that and takes that money. Or what's more common is they use your email to send out and request payments for invoices. And they'll spend a lot of time making sure they understand, how you phrase things, and maybe even just copy one of your old sent emails and then just make a really good version of it, same looking invoice. And I know recently that happened to a client of mine, and the admin person was smart enough to say, well, this doesn't sound right. It's too much, and it doesn't really sound like the person. So that was lucky. And that, again, this is all through the fact that the account was compromised. So the email account. So banking and financial accounts, I don't think we need to talk much about that, but you can imagine someone gets in and, somehow sends money to themselves or buys Bitcoin in their name, whatever they do. That one's obvious. Social media accounts. This may not seem like a big deal, but using social media, obviously, you can really damage a company's reputation. You can go out to other people and gather information because you have that trust. You can send links to what should be close friends of that person, and they're going to trust your link because they know you. They click the link, and then maybe now you're getting their credentials, or you're getting them to, you're somehow getting hacked because that trust factor with social media. Wouldn't it be scary to think that you're not getting the account back either because they've blocked all different ways for you to reset your password? All right. So the next thing is the cloud storage accounts. I mean, this one is huge. All of your most sensitive data, maybe only you are the person who can see it in the company. No, not anymore. If your account credentials get compromised, now anybody with your username and password can log into the Google Drive or OneDrive or Dropbox or what have you, or maybe they can log into your system, your whole network remotely using that same account. So we need to really make sure we're securing the storage accounts. E-commerce accounts, that would be maybe they're buying something at Amazon and sending it to themselves, work and collaboration tools like data breaches. Maybe there's sensitive corporate information or HR or just all kinds of fraud. Healthcare accounts, obviously that would be bad. There's a huge amount of money to be made if you're a fraudster with healthcare accounts. If you hook up with, somebody who's able to bill the government illegally for months and months using your health card or healthcare information, that's a huge amount of money, and it's a big problem. And it's all based on a credential to start. And then we have gaming accounts. This would be more of a fringe thing, but if you are paying for games or skins or whatever, you may lose those. I know sometimes those get sold. And maybe number 10 should be number 1, but that's the password manager. So in a recent video, I kind of talked about password managers and how to secure them. So can you imagine if someone hacked in, got your username and password for your password manager, and then boom, got full access to all of your usernames and passwords, every account you have? Well, that would be terrible. Those have to be secured. Maybe some employees are using those tools and maybe they're not secure, maybe they are, I'm not sure, but you need that list of accounts to understand your situation. And so last thing is you should collect some key information for each account. I know this is super hard to read unless you're kind of like supervision there. So this is an example of some information that we've collected in the past. So, I have at the left here all the different kind of accounts. I know it's hard to read, but you want to get different kinds of accounts like email, bank, financial, HR, social media, the account to log into your computer, all those kinds of things. And then you're going to want to start tracking down, the username. And then is the password a complicated password? Is it the same password that's been used time and time again? Is it, Spring 2024, which is the world's easiest password to hack, by the way? Is there multi-factor authentication on the account? Do you have the recovery info? Like how would you reset the password? Is that correct? Some of those are not even set up right. And if the password is compromised, you can't even recover the account after. Is it disconnected? Should it be disconnected from other devices? We have a few other areas, but that's really, the two things we should do to map out our digital identity. Like what accounts do we have? And then start collecting some of this basic information. So then you have your list of accounts. You've mapped out your digital identity. So now, what's next? Well, the next video I want to go over is auditing for intrusions. And I'm going to discuss that next week. And we want to make sure that, you're not already hacked. Maybe somebody is accessing the account. So next week, I'll talk to you about that, seeing if people are possibly logged into your account or if you're vulnerable for that. Maybe they're in your account right now. So what can you do to audit for intrusions and for vulnerabilities and make sure your online accounts are more secure? And then the last video, I'm going to talk about a bunch of security hardening, and that's probably the most important part of the video, but all three really go together. So hopefully it's clear here that, identity is the big area for small business to focus on, because it's going to give you the most bang for your buck and you get the most done. If you want to ask questions or whatever, just let me know in the comments. If you'd like me to help you in your company map out your digital online accounts and where they are and what to do, we've done that many times. I don't want to be on the end where you're calling me after it's been compromised. We really have a chance as small business owners here to do it ahead of time and be much harder to hack into. It's not that difficult. It's just a matter of a few steps. So I don't see any comments, but I want to thank you for paying attention here. And next week, I'm going to talk about our next step in securing your online accounts. So I hope you have a good day. Take care.